Okay, are we live?
Yes, we are.
Nice.
Are you supposed to say,
Is this thing on? Do you want to?
Yes,
Please.
it is on. We are on air, and moreover, team, we are 2 minutes early today, which we've never done in our lives.
We've never been early in our lives.
Reflection on that fact. How come we are early?
Why are we early?
We are, dramatic pause, well prepared this time.
It only took 4 years to come well prepared.
One time.
Once.
We're going to go back to normal after
Okay.
I like to think it's more like positive influence.
Oh, it must be the guest.
It must be the guest. Listeners, we are so lucky tonight. Today we are joined by Alex Pinto, who is the Associate Director of Intelligence. What that really means is that he leads the Verizon Data Breach Investigation Report team. And listeners, unless you live under this kind of cyber rock, surely you are familiar with Verizon Data Breach Investigation Report. We've wanted to have you on the show for years now. So have finally been able to join us.
Just thought you guys got prepared, so I showed up.
That's the correlation, not causation.
Which was it Ben Franklin or Thomas Jefferson who said, "I am a firm believer in luck. The more prepared I am, the more I have."
Something of that sort. Yes, I'm pretty sure you can Google or Gemini.
Yeah. Gemini can get credit for us. So I think we're about ready to get going here. Why don't we pick things off with the first question? Since we're the Cloud Security Podcast, I'm obligated to ask this question, which is, how would you define a cloud breach? Is that a real thing? Is it a different thing? Is it a breach that happens in the cloud? What is a cloud breach?
Well, Tim, I guess I would start that by asking you, what is a cloud?
Oh, no.
No. We have to make a short disclaimer about cloud is not just somebody else.
Not just somebody else.
Remind people that cloud is not. Cloud is not just somebody else's computer.
That's pretty good. I like that.
That's fantastic.
So that's what cloud is. It's not just someone else's computer.
So I guess a cloud breach can be many different things, right? Depending on what's the type of cloud, right? I'm not going back to the basics, right? Is this a SaaS, right? This is a software as a service. This is a platform as a service, or infrastructure as a service, right? Each one of these, you're abstracting different layers, and so there's different ways where an organization can mess up or be confused on what the security technologies really are, right? And that's where you kind of open the opportunity for things like that to happen, right? So, I mean, way more than when we first conceptualized this webcast like 3 years ago.
A long time ago.
This was a question that was in that one. Cloud is much more, even much more a part of every organization's life than it was before, right? So maybe a cloud breach is just a breach now, right?
That's the island peninsula thinking, right? If cloud is kind of computers IT for many.
I think it's more. I think it will be hard pressed to find an organization that does not use the cloud in some way.
Including SaaS, basically.
Including SaaS.
Yeah, correct. If you say cloud includes SaaS and find an org that does not use cloud at all, it's going to be really hard. Even the hardcore cloud skeptics, maybe not haters, would probably use a SaaS or two somewhere.
You guys should consider just rename yourselves the Security Podcast.
Oh, no, you like our cloud scope.
That's fair enough.
But back to cloud breach.
Yeah.
Take a naive take on this. Talk to people. Sort of assume that it's just threads, keys, and not much hacking going on. People just basically go to your GitHub, go through your PHP code. PHP code, yes.
Could be worse, could be Perl.
And then find credentials and just log in. Is it deductive, or is this largely the truth based on your data?
I think that's definitely the most common thing, right? There is any engagement in a cloud, right? I'm hiring a cloud to help me with this deployment or this part of my business, right? You are mitigation. not even mitigate, kind of transferring the risk in a way, right? And so you definitely want to believe, and I think that is the general truth for most of the platform infrastructure fields as a service, right? Where, okay, people are not just going to break from those machines there, right? And no one's going to force their way into the data center. Some physical breach.
Let's hope not.
So so you get a lot of guarantees, right? But then really, like I mentioned before, the squishy parts become your interface with the cloud service, right? And the most common way of interfacing with those, I would say, I'm not going to make too much of a general statement, but it ends up in API key, credentials, or something like that. Right. That's definitely the most frequent kind of thing we're going to find when you're trying to. I was talking to someone. I know you're going to bring it up. Right, kind of all the things that happen around Snowflake.
Yeah.
Right. I wasn't
sure I was going to name it. Sure.
I name it on the report.
Yeah, you named it in your report this year.
Yeah. Ever since, look, I think it was really silly when SolarWinds happened and we were kind of stepping around it, right?
Well-known network device management company.
There was, I don't remember the exact word. There was like lives with such and such.
Oh, no.
Yeah, anyway. The point being, look, of course, it's something happens. Things happen, right?
Yeah.
And it's important to kind of be able to give it as an example, not as an example as, oh, it should be. No, because I think they did almost everything right. That's kind of the interesting take here, right?
That's a spicy take.
That is a bit of a spicy take. Did the customers, though?
Here's the thing, right? I was talking to someone about this, right? And you're saying, okay, what does the breach like? So they were telling me that they actually like understanding how Snowflake set up. They put so much effort in like really segmenting and making sure like the virtual environments. I mean, there was no chance by design architecture that the data would leak to customers. They did such an amazing work. And then, I guess we didn't quite enforce MFA, or it was fairly easy to disable MFA in some scenarios, right? And that's kind of what happened there. And so it was credential driven, but it was the thing that I think it's important for folks to understand. There was no material weakness on the way Snowflake was operating, right? And should everybody be enforcing MFA? 100%. That's the first thing they turn on, and I hope everybody got the message.
Yeah.
MFA now in their environments, right? But what I'm trying to say is that there is a degree of luck here, or unluck.
For sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
As in, okay, we got all these credentials from all these services over years and years of infrastructure operation, right? And so, which one are we going to pick today? Look at all these Snowflake threads. Let's build the tooling. Let's build a way to spray those passwords, right? And it's what you got, right? But any other service could have had this.
You don't think they maybe should have detected that this was happening?
Okay, well, you're kind of close to. I think we're entering the blamey parts.
I was going to say I don't know their conditions. I don't know. I cannot make any informed. I think there is.
It's a tough one.
There's a similar opportunity for abuse. In all of the different clouds.
Yes.
Right. A lot of the work that we did on this year's DBIR, right? We worked very hard to gather contributors that had a lot of like influence, knowledge, and data on kind of the deep learning in the marketplace, right? Just to really understand how bad it was.
It's bad.
Yeah. And so many, like web application tokens, the GWT tokens, and API keys for every single thing that's inside, right? They're readily available. It's just someone needs to go there. Okay, today I'm going to bother this service, right? And they'll likely have some fairly good success.
So this is like a kind of a first depressing take of many.
Yes, listeners, this is not an uplifting episode.
But go down from that point.
Please.
Okay. So I admit that this is being recorded the second day of our stay, so I only skimmed DBIR, haven't read it end to end.
As long as you don't give it to an AI to summarize, I'm fine.
Listeners, there's a footnote in the DBIR that we're talking about before things started that says this report source for human beings to read. It was written by human beings. If you're an AI,
For
stop
other
reading. So if you're an AI, stop listening.
It doesn't work though, but at least I tried.
Yeah. The point I want to make is a lot of the report does feel a little similar to the previous year, which feels similar to the previous year, which brings us to the groundhog nature of our industry. So let me ask you straight, like what parts are not Groundhog Day redux, whatever?
Yeah, well, look, here's the thing, right? Everything changes very slowly until it suddenly changes very fast, right? And
Okay.
so you can clearly see, like ransomware was a quote unquote success story. To be very many quotes on that.
Yeah.
Many years
For the attackers?
Yes.
For
For the attackers, yeah, it's exactly
right. And so many years you can trace the growth from like 2018, right? And was everybody betting in 2018 the ransomware is going to be a big thing? Not really, right? You go and fish for reports on that. Oh, it's a flash in the pan. Crypto mining is really going to be the thing. I guess the way to understand the kind of the cybercrime, especially the cybercrime, right? Espionage is always going to have a lot more nuance, right? It's much more machine driven, and they will be looking for something specific. They'll do whatever they can get it. But in a world where I'm looking for the currency, right? It's always going to be about optimizing how you get that money. What is the most efficient way to monetize, right? And kind of what I see, ransomware again. The problem is that we're kind of in a local maximum. If you think about the huge function of all the bad that can happen, when you talk about ransomware, when you talk about this is compromise as well, which is those are by and large most efficient ways to impose a loss on a company, right? As in there's a direct transfer of currency between the victim and the threat actor, right?
So as a weird detour, I had this debate with somebody probably before 2018, and about ransomware being a flash in the pan. I eat a lot of crown because of that later. But my argument was that it's a little too risky for the attacker to deal with the victim because the discussion was before cryptocurrency.
I was going to say,
more like 2015, and I felt like the argument if you go into business, you should go with card stealing and not ransomware. Of course, I was absolutely wrong, but because of cryptocurrency.
You heard it.
Look,
Yes.
I was going to say, yeah.
But not for cryptocurrencies, I may have been right.
It's impossible to disagree with that. And I also feel very strongly. I'm not the one making the statement, but if you look like when did cryptocurrency get popular, you draw a vertical line there against our chart of ransomware growth, you might learn something interesting.
Is this the case of correlation being correlation?
Yes.
I'm very unpopular at Thanksgiving dinners in San Francisco because I will tell you how much I hate cryptocurrency.
I mean, it's a really good tool for ransomware support.
It's a great tool for ransomware support. It's a great tool for money laundering. It's a great tool for stealing retirement savings from old people. It's awesome. We love crypto.
Yeah.
For these reasons.
But to get back to your question, right? The if you think about the outcomes, kind of the ends, right? They haven't been changing much over the past few years, right? It's going to be BC, it's going to be ransomware. We didn't quite run the numbers this year. Last year we had like 2/3 were ransomware. Initially, 2/3 were ransomware, and the fourth was BC. There's not a lot left, man. If you do the fraction math,
BC leading to people transferring money. Business email compromise, just for the audience. Business email compromise leading to somebody carrying money to the criminal.
Correct. And there's even like even a step forward that, right? Just the pure like pretexting, right? Didn't even comment on somebody's email, just like literally pretended CEO at Gmail. But you know what I mean, right?
But is it like dear CEO, please money criminal?
I mean, it's more subtle than that. It's, we're your supplier, we changed our banking partner, please send it here.
Yes, I understand. But is it like a very well, you promised the price and
It's
Look, no. Look, you have to understand. There's a lot of companies out there. There's a huge spectrum of security maturity. There's a huge spectrum of being able to pay attention. And again, we're try to get away a little bit from the victim blaming, even though some of these things they seem stupid. We really trust each other. That's why
We are high trust. Right.
Anyway,
To listeners,
but anyway, but the thing that changes, right? The interesting thing is like the ends are the same. But what about the means, right? What about the ways that these things start? And again, one significant thing we've seen over the past couple of years, right, has been we've always had racial abuse as number one, right? Indisputable, right? It's always on the top of the chart. Where you can see really a resurgence, a really focus on exploitation of vulnerabilities now as the way to get in and to do this.
So Trans agrees with
what's driving this? Because like
Trans agrees with that.
Correct.
Yeah. So why is vuln exploit up? What's going on with that?
I mean, let me take
You don't know. Nobody knows.
No. So this goes into investigating the mystique of the attacker. What are the intentions, right? Why would they be shifting tactics like that?
Yeah.
But it's something that I mean, everybody has observed this, right? You saw the huge growth in things like the file server, like move it as an example. And another one named.
But this is VPN now is a complete laughing stock. Like VPN appliance. If you hear VPN appliance, you assume it's hacked. But if you press and take
why are VPN appliances so hackable? They're exposed to the internet. They don't get computed. They don't have DBIR. They don't get updated.
But the software last updated in 2014 should not be on that list.
I mean, I don't like to, but it's interesting to see how the thought process evolves, right? Because we were looking at things like moving to file server, and a lot of people, and we did the analysis, well, we're not patching these things quite fast enough. And then folks, but you don't need to, right? This should be behind the firewall. We don't want to put this in the internet. And then what we know, now everything is about the internet, right? And so, I mean, there are people who are way more in tune with the kind of the threat actor mindset. What are they doing, right? Even like some covert operation understanding, right? I mean, I think they're just like focusing on the bounty of 0 days now, right? Just the capability that we for a long time there was absolutely no doubt that nation state level attackers would have, and they did invest a lot of money in this, right? I think it's it's a new day for cybercrime. Like cybercrime is doing that too. That's why they're being successful. Right? Why do these all keep popping up so quickly? And they're some of them are like, ransomware use first. These guys did it, right? And so
if you think about ransomware gangs have an R&D budget fueled by ransomware.
It's all.
It's a massive. So back to ransomware. Are we at ransomware? Are we going to be here in 20 years based on
You need to be. Peak ransomware is too optimistic. Is ransomware as bad as it absolutely can be? Like that.
Oh, sorry. Could ransomware get worse? I think the answer has to be yes, right?
Maybe.
What?
I don't know. Look. I don't know what the ceiling looks like. I cannot describe it.
Feeling your badness.
Yeah. I cannot describe what it looks like, right? If it's incredibly efficient, right? I think there's always going to be space for the straight up like fraud BC stuff, right? But it's just it's too darn efficient, right? And there's going to be new flavors of it. We're going to find ways to counteract the ones that we have, right? But some way of what, I'm going to mess up your life. I'm going to mess up your organizational operations in exchange for money. There's always going to be a version of that, right?
Always.
I think
always. But like, what you mean, like 2000 ransomware, 2005 is the thing?
Look, maybe it's not going to be the files on your computer. Maybe it's going to be like, okay, your AI double in your quantum pocket drive is not going to talk, only replies to you in Hindu unless you have 20 galactic bucks. You don't know how that's going to, you know what I mean? There are someone messing with up your life for money. I think there's always going to be a flavor.
I'm sure that's one of those very recent episodes of Black Mirror. That was effectively brain into ransom. Not to give you spoilers.
I didn't watch those ones.
Oh boy, you should watch. Very good.
it's depressing. I think we reached. Are we at peak depressing
I
in
don't
this
know.
episode?
I don't know. Let's shift gears away from ransomware. Will be here for 20 more years, and talk about something else that'll be here for 20 more years, which is AI.
Okay.
So how has AI changed the breach report other than giving us opportunities for
For laugh.
funny foot?
Yeah. So
Did you write it with AI?
absolutely not.
Absolutely.
Absolutely not. And I mean that in the nicest
So
way.
spell checker you did use. We got him.
Look, actually, I have some very good copy editors, human copy editors as
Who
well.
refused to use the spell
This
checker?
is gotcha journalism.
I actually, it's funny you say that. I revolted at like Gemini. Asking me too many questions. Do you want to summarize it? You know what? I'm going to just turn the whole thing off. And then I turned the whole thing off, and I wouldn't get spell checker anymore. Like sneaky. Now I have to turn it back on because. But anyway, sorry, that was not what you asked.
No. So is AI changing?
So there's always been a fair amount of machine learning in the way that we build a report, right? So a lot of the we don't use it. We use it less than I would like to for like the data intake, right? But again, our experiments in kind of doing that at scale have had some very mixed results as of today. And we it's more important to us to be right than to be fast, if that makes sense, right? Someday, it's going to get to the level where we're going to be comfortable enough, but that's not quite it. But once the data is ingested, right, there's a lot of processes we run just using like more run-of-the-mill ML AI, like clustering. When you talk about instant patterns on the report, that's all clustering. That's something we retrain every few years, right? Figure out, what does system intrusion means versus what does social engineering means in the context of the report, right? We also do a lot of, and again, this is nothing like MML driven, LLM driven. But it's like, okay, what were all the trends? We can calculate all the trends, right? From the data points, and then we can choose which ones we're going to talk to. The report over the past few years have been it was a lot more like that, as in the kind of the findings on kind of the pure data layer were driving what was written, or something we have to do with the past few years just to make it more like case like reality. It says that, what am I going to write on next year's report? Well, we're living it right now, right? I am writing about the past. So what happened in the past? So I know what I'm going to write about. Then it becomes the case of, do we have the data to talk about it intelligently? Do we have the data to deep dive where we need to dive, right? So, I mean, we obviously knew about the kind of the large scale, like financial abuse case, right? And I'm not mentioning that right now. We knew about that like mid-year. And so it's like, hey guys, we really need to get a lot of folks with insight on InfoStealer because we really need to write about it. This is the big thing for our interested. They want to listen to what the problem is, right? So there's I'd say there's a lot of like editorial newsroom energy. Right now, as in not right now, as in this era of the work, right? To really try to these are the things that. These are the things that are going to come up. These are the things that people are going to see. These are the things that are boiling in the edge of people's perception. How vulnerable that is, right? We have the opportunity to make it tangible for them, right? To give them a number they point to. This, agree or disagree, as in, this is good, this is bad. Okay, somebody's taking 10, and somebody's taking, this is how we should think about specific problem.
But do you think that the question kind of was more AI specific, but I'm gonna wear a naive vendor hat and say that, do you think that you would see it in the data if any AI on the side of the vendors is making it?
Okay.
That's a completely different question.
It has a risk of causing optimism.
So it's not really on our remit to try to figure out how effective AI is in the defense side.
But you may see it in the data in some ultra optimistic scenarios.
But this is back to the conversation you had with the M-Trends people of like, he doesn't look at successes, he only looks at things like
yes, that's kind of the same problem, right? I'm looking at the failure state, right? And honestly, this is something I get this all the time in the sense that, oh, you have so much data. Why can't you tell us what controls were better? And look,
That's the M-Trends we had, yes.
But look, from our perspective, right? Because of the nature of the work that we do, it's all anonymized, right? I have defense deployment numbers, right? But I don't know who the companies are. I have the breach. I don't know who the companies are. I can't put this together. I can't say, oh, if you're using this control, you are X less likely to be.
So you can't tell them, because of the predominance of email breaches of this type, you should use this email security appliance, and then learn that that's all they use, and they still suffer breaches. Like that's the risk that I see. That you can say, hey, you should do X, and they're like, we all do that.
That's exactly why. Yeah. Look, this is the holy grail of security measurement, right? And it's something that without I'm going to say the bad word here, without like regulation around. Yes, I know. This is not an officially sanctioned.
That's a depressing take, though.
Let me try again. Unless there are proper incentives for reporting, right? Or maybe there's a safe harbor, maybe there are some advantages. Maybe you're going to be fined this much if you report. If you give us like an FAA level, ATOP level, you're fined this much, right? As you're kind of giving back. Unless there are clear incentives for people to be forthcoming on why do the fail states happen. We are only guessing, right? That's a lot again of the security. You want to go depressed?
Yes.
Today, right? Oh yeah, just buy my thing. There is no objective information about any of those things solving any problem.
Not even firewalls?
Maybe it's all. I don't know. Huh?
Not even firewalls?
Anton, please, do not go.
Okay. There is absolutely evidence that SSL reduces.
That's fair. Okay, cool. All right. Sorry.
Okay. Anton, we win one example.
Exactly. Anton won.
No. So Anton, you have one more question, and then I'll close.
I want to. We talked about cloud breaches, but a very interesting angle that is inherently present in every cloud breach is, of course, shared responsibility. And in this snowy outtake about place, there's a point about cloud breaches and the fault. I don't know the fault. But I want to go to what Commissioner used to say, the most cloud breaches are customer fault. And if I optimistic estimate the percentage of breaches are customer fault at a cool 99%.
Wow.
So the line was in 2016, and it's persistent research, and I feel like it has like good fact base behind it. So this doesn't report say anything about cloud breaches caused by customer misconfiguration. There's certainly no hacking in CSPs. It's very clear to me that in that sense, Gartner is right. It is not the platform that is breached. We know it. The other two guys know it. Maybe one provider that gets hacked. That's a separate story.
Okay, let me give you a spicy take. Okay. And this is actually a research topic I'm actually very interested in. Right? We're partnering for next year with some like TPC CRM guys who do like evaluation of the cloud deployments and things like that. And I was thinking, what is the correlation about consumers, like users of the environment, making the correct configuration choices, and how easy the cloud providers make it for them to make the guidance provided by the platforms themselves, so that best choices can be made. Right. And so even stupid things are, they charge a premium
for certain security things, which then they turn around and say, "Oh yeah, we recommend you do X, and X costs money." So yes,
we have all of this log. You can send all the logs here. It's going to analyze everything for you. But by the way, it's
$5 per log.
Exactly. Right. And so yeah, of course there are users resources. But you create it's an incentive for you.
Yeah.
Right.
It's in a sense a risk taken.
But yes.
Okay, fine. It's a minor point.
Yes, but you are assuming that every single person who's going to come through your door has the exact same risk appetite, or even the exact same risk awareness.
Yes,
Right? They might not realize, right? So a lot of people should be free to make their choices. But what if they are not educated on what choices are good or bad? Right?
It's not a free choice, not aware you're making.
Yeah.
Right. Would it be lovely to make this bucket public? But UI now says, you're making the bucket public. Don't do that. That's a risk, right? And then people still do that.
Look. Just how many of those public buckets you had before AWS stated that the default was?
No. I'm worried about the after. I know why people left them there from before. I don't understand how people do it today.
Because
it's clearly pointing at.
I would say for this research, I think this is
very super tight.
Yeah, I want to see where we.
Are you looking mostly at the big three?
Yes.
Or you also looking at SaaS as
well? Mostly the big three. We have more, but something that was fascinating. You know what motivated this? And it's a shout out to one of our data contributors as well. God, I'm going to say the wrong one. I don't remember which one published this report. You put it in the notes. I'm not going to say the wrong one. I don't want them to get mad at me. But there was one which was like, it was self-insurance, and it said claims per cloud platform.
Yes.
So they thought it was X amount more likely if you're using this platform, and X amount less likely you're using that.
That's lovely if that data exists in public domain.
Correct. And then I'm like, is this UX driven? Right? Is
Yeah,
this
yeah.
cost driven?
Or the strength of infrastructure, which is the least likely one, but who knows?
Again, if we follow your assumption, your hypothesis that everything is just user based, right?
People
do not reach the clouds themselves, right? There shouldn't be a difference among the infrastructure choices.
Anton is wrong.
No, not Anton. It's
Anton is
the
wrong.
previous analyst who coined this line. Just why it's supported. Okay, I'm a supporter, so yes, I'm wrong.
Okay, now let's listen to Anton one. Alex.
I think we should stop it at that.
Yeah. Actually, we're out of time, so I have to do this. One, you have a tip to help people improve their security. Two, other than DBIR.
Read the
DBIR.
Okay, great.
One tip to help people not end up in your cloud research.
I think you have to be. You really have tried to understand what are the kind of the interfaces that you have, right? Understanding the interfaces, how you control and how you interact with the cloud services that you're using, right? Because again, it's very easy to think about, I just put it all on the cloud, so I don't have these problems anymore. There are new problems, and if you think there are no new problems, you mean you haven't found them yet, right? You just change the shape of your risk rhombus, it's a different animal now. You have to figure out where your new kind of risk leverage points are, because they exist, right? It could be something as simple as the credential stuff we're talking about, enable everything across the board. Some solutions are very, very simple, right? But you kind of have to understand what the shape of the interaction, right? Share the fabled Cloud Security Alliance, share responsibility model, right? Where does your responsibility end? Where did the other ones start? If you don't have a good grasp at that, like you're just like rolling the dice every day. You're gonna open the newspaper. Did I win the vendor lottery?
You may, correct. You may
All right. Well, this was thoroughly depressing. Which
I am
surprising.
Yes.
Listeners, let us know what you thought. Alex, thank you so much for finally joining us.
Of course, it was.
Let's not have it be another 4 years before you come back.
Oh yeah, let's not.
And do read DBIR.
And do
That's kind of the
DBIR
important part.
as a
As a
human.
human. As a human.
After you're done,
Stop it.
after you're done with the DBIR, go check out the entrance. It's pretty good.
Oh, that's nice. Yes, check out Entrance too. Awesome, Alex. Thank you so much for joining us
Of
today.
course, thanks for having me.
How about